Welcome to the Bare Metal Cyber CCISO Prepcast. This series helps you prepare for the exam with focused explanations and practical context. Vulnerability management is a core discipline within cybersecurity programs and plays a pivotal role in reducing technical risk across the enterprise. The purpose of a vulnerability management program is to systematically identify, evaluate, and remediate security weaknesses in systems, applications, and infrastructure before they can be exploited by adversaries. A strong vulnerability management program supports proactive threat mitigation and significantly reduces the attack surface. It enhances the organization's ability to comply with regulatory and audit requirements by demonstrating that known vulnerabilities are tracked, prioritized, and addressed. Additionally, vulnerability data informs patching strategies, secure configuration efforts, and asset protection policies. As part of a mature security operations strategy, vulnerability management complements other functions such as threat intelligence, incident response, and risk assessment. The CISO has strategic oversight of the vulnerability management program and must ensure that it is aligned with the organization's risk tolerance, compliance obligations, and operational realities. This includes ensuring that the program receives adequate resources and executive sponsorship, and that stakeholders across IT, operations, and application teams are engaged. The CISO prioritizes remediation efforts by ensuring that the highest risk vulnerabilities receive immediate attention and that lower risk issues are managed based on defined risk criteria. Visibility into program effectiveness is essential, so the CISO must track and report on key metrics, such as vulnerability aging, patching timelines, and risk reduction trends. Vulnerability management is not isolated. It must be integrated with broader governance, risk, and compliance process. The CISO ensures that findings inform security policy, feed into the risk register, and are escalated when remediation fails or deadlines are missed. There are 5 essential components of an effective vulnerability management program. The first is a comprehensive asset inventory and classification system, which defines the scope of scanning and prioritization. Without knowing what systems exist and how critical they are, vulnerability data cannot be properly interpreted. Next, the organization must perform regular and ad hoc scans using automated tools, ensuring broad and deep visibility. These scans must be risk-aware and scheduled to minimize disruption. The third component is triage and prioritization. Vulnerabilities must be analyzed and ranked, not only by technical severity, but by business context and exploitability. The fourth component is remediation tracking, including accountability, timelines, and verification of fix effectiveness. Finally, dashboards and reports must provide insights to both technical and executive audiences. These components work together to create a cycle of continuous identification, evaluation, and resolution. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other podcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. Scanning is the engine that powers vulnerability management. There are several approaches to scanning, and each offers distinct benefits. Network-based scans provide visibility into devices from the outside, while agent-based scans offer deeper insight from within the system. Scans may be external or internal, authenticated or unauthenticated. Authenticated scans are generally more accurate because they access the system using credentials, while unauthenticated scans reveal only what is visible to an external threat. Scanning must also extend to cloud infrastructure, containers, and SaaS environments. Integrating scans with the Configuration Management Database in CMDB, patch management tools, and SIEM platforms improves automation and coordination. To be effective, scans must be validated for completeness, tuned to reduce noise, and scheduled to avoid operational disruption. The CISO must ensure that scanning provides actionable results without overwhelming teams or causing outages. Prioritization is essential to avoid being buried under a mountain of findings. Many organizations use CVSS, the Common Vulnerability Scoring System, as a starting point for severity rankings. However, CVSS alone does not tell the full story. Real-world prioritization must also consider whether an exploit exists, whether the system is internet-facing, whether sensitive data is involved, and what the potential business impact would be. Threat intelligence can provide insights into which vulnerabilities are currently being weaponized or actively exploited in the wild. Asset criticality also influences priority. An unpatched workstation poses less risk than a vulnerable domain controller. The goal is not to patch everything, but to patch what matters most. Tracking the aging of unpatched vulnerabilities helps highlight where risk is accumulating. Coordinating with IT and application teams is essential to align remediation efforts with patch cycles, maintenance windows, and change management policies. Once vulnerabilities are identified and prioritized, remediation must be assigned, tracked, and verified. Each finding should be tied to an asset owner or accountable party. Ticketing systems help manage workflows, track progress, and provide escalation paths for overdue items. Remediation SLAs should be established based on severity. For example, critical vulnerabilities may need to be addressed within 7 days, while low-risk findings may have a 30-day window. Monitoring patch deployment and verifying success is just as important as applying the fix. Failed patches or incomplete deployments can create a false sense of security. In cases where patching is not feasible, compensating controls such as segmentation, detection monitoring, or service restriction may be needed. If remediation is delayed or refused, the issue must be escalated to risk governance bodies for decision-making. The CISO must oversee this process to ensure accountability and maintain a clear view of organizational exposure. Metrics provide the visibility required to manage and improve the vulnerability management program. Common metrics include the total number of vulnerabilities, risk-adjusted scores, and average time to remediate. Coverage metrics, such as the percentage of assets scanned and patched, provide insight into program reach. Trending metrics highlight the recurrence of issues or the growth of aging vulnerabilities. Reporting must be customized for different audiences. Technical teams need granular views of specific assets or patch failures. Executives require summaries of overall risk, compliance status, and remediation progress. Dashboards that visualize risk over time help demonstrate continuous improvement and support resource planning. These metrics must be tied to program objectives and reviewed regularly to identify gaps or declining performance. The CSI uses this data to report to leadership, support budgeting requests, and align efforts with enterprise risk appetite. Vulnerability management must align with policy and compliance frameworks. Regulations such as PCI DSS, HIPAA, NIST, CSF, and ISO 27001 all require documented vulnerability management practices. Policies must define acceptable risk thresholds, required patch timeframes, and escalation processes. Documentation is critical for audit preparation and regulatory inquiries. Auditors may request evidence of scan results, remediation workflows, ticket closure, and exception handling. The vulnerability management program must be linked to the broader information security policy framework, including incident response, change control, and asset management. A mature program demonstrates continuous monitoring, structured improvement, and responsiveness to both internal and external requirements. Despite its importance, vulnerability management faces several recurring challenges. The most common is incomplete asset inventory. Unmanaged or shadow systems often go unscanned and become entry points for attackers. Patch fatigue, where IT teams are overwhelmed with remediation tasks, can slow down response times. Conflicting priorities between IT uptime and security patching lead to missed deadlines. Scan results may include false positives or low-confidence findings which waste time and erode trust. In cloud, mobile, or container environments, lack of visibility creates blind spots. Finally, teams may resist remediation due to fears of downtime or lack of support for legacy systems. The C-side must address these issues by improving asset visibility, fostering cross-functional collaboration, and integrating remediation into standard IT processes. On the CISO exam, vulnerability management is covered through terminology, scenario-based prioritization, and executive decision-making. Candidates must understand terms such as CVE, CVSS, exploitability, and risk-based patching. Scenario questions may require evaluating remediation urgency, assigning ownership, or interpreting metrics. The exam assesses how the CISO uses the vulnerability management program to support audit readiness, incident response, and enterprise risk reduction. Candidates must show an ability to balance technical depth with strategic oversight, ensuring that VM programs are proactive, accountable, and aligned with business goals. Mastery of this topic confirms readiness to lead a vulnerability management program that is integrated, risk-based, and governance-aligned. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Bare Metal Cybersecurity CISO Prepcast. For more episodes, tools, and study support, visit us at baremetalcyber.com.